Luke. Bozeman.
Here.
Distrom.
Here.
Posthauser.
Here.
Park.
Here.
Reed. Here. Zawin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And so please all stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll now move into the public participation portion of the meeting. And Dr. Parker will begin with the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our April board meeting. And as always, we'll get started with our safety briefing. And just need to make sure I have volunteers that are willing to call 911, first aid responders, and anyone certified in CPR in the audience. Very good, thank you. Our exits are also off to my right and my left, and the AED machine is in the main hallway off to the right. Thank you. We're going to take a look at our data dashboard for the month, and I chose a couple different things, one data related and actually one not. So our kindergarten registration day, we recently held this last week, and district-wide we had 242 students register for kindergarten. You'll notice we were projected to be around 341 students. So that's obviously significantly lower than what our projections are. And so I wanted to go back and look and see how many registered a year ago in April. And a year ago in April, we had 295 students register. And you'll notice then we had about 50 more join us before school started. So based on that information, I think our enrollment may be down just a little bit. But it's hard to make too many predictions until our registration packets are due here in May, and we can take a look at our current students. So in the meantime, we met with some of our elementary admins today, and we're taking a real close look at our staffing, and we'll not be making any new hires, obviously, until we're sure that we have the right numbers to support the students and the teachers that we currently have. So interesting numbers, but a lot of factors can go into that. Something as simple as I forgot or a parent forgot that was registration day, and so it's a little hard. The numbers have changed since registration day as well, so we'll keep an eye on those. The other thing I wanted to mention publicly is that we revised, or the board approved our revised strategic plan just a week, 2 weeks ago, I guess, and soon you'll start seeing this all over the district. We ordered some copies today to go out to the buildings. We'll start working with our students and our staff to create our own plan on the page for each building here over the summer. We've had some money dedicated in our budget for staff time throughout the summer to work on that and get some action plans together. And we'll be ready to roll all that out in August when staff return to work. So that's going to be a huge project in its own, but we're very proud of our new document, and you'll see the Eagle probably in quite a few places coming forward, because we're going to have a full-blown marketing plan that'll come forward pretty soon. Just a few other updates. Mrs. Beverlin and I presented last weekend at the State of the Village meeting in Dunlap and gave some updates about our district. And this week, Mrs. Bozeman and I had a meeting with Peoria Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Karat, as well as their board president, Mrs. Ross. And this is just a new way for us to start looking for ways for Peoria Public Schools and us to collaborate on projects together, build relationships, and work together on some areas of concern. And then this Friday, Mrs. Bowman and Mrs. Beverly and I are going to go meet with some administrators at Illinois Central College and look for ways to begin continuing our partnership with ICC and look for some different ways of some benefit for our students. So obviously we're getting out and about in the community as much as we can and looking for opportunities for whatever's best for our kids. You'll also see, hopefully tomorrow, there will be an email that'll go out to all staff and to all parents in the district, and it'll be a 1 or 2 page blurb about the board meetings tonight and things that things we took action on, bits and pieces on information items, and that'll just be something that comes out every time after a board meeting. An email will come out to me or from me to all staff and all parents, and that way I if an issue comes up, they can easily say, well, we did communicate that on X date, and as always, then they can contact me with further questions. So. We also had one FOIA request, which was from the Policy Institute in March for a list of all courses offered at our high school, and another FOIA request from the Illinois Retired Teachers Association for a list of all of our retired teachers for 2016. The only other thing I had is I was going to ask Mrs. Mason to come forward, and she's going to talk about an upcoming exciting activity, first of its kind, happening at Dunlap High School.
Yes, we're excited. I can probably talk loud enough for this anyway. At Dunlap High School, we're always looking for ways to keep our students drug and alcohol free. For years, we've had the Snowball organization. They put on Snowball Rock and Snowflake and the Babies Club. We have another opportunity to add another group this year. It's called Project Purple. And we are fortunate enough that we're going to have a guest speaker on May 11th. His name is Chris Herron. He's a former NBA basketball star who his life fell to ruins due to drug and alcohol abuse, and he is going to be coming to speak, and it's kind of a big deal because we've got ESPN Radio, and Jim Matson is going to be interviewing Chris Herron here. So we've also invited all the other Mid-Illini schools superintendents, a total of 14 different high schools. We were very lucky to have many donors because this is an expensive venture. We had Commercial Bank, DHS Parents Club, Mike Miller Auto Park, OSF, Heinold and Banwart, ESPN Radio, and then an anonymous donor, and that gave us enough to be able to bring Chris Herron to Dunlap High School. So Wednesday, May 11th at 12:45, that'll be happening, and we're really, really excited about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to also say, I want to give kudos to one of our board members who worked very hard to make sure that we had a student, had the opportunity for Project Purple to come to Dunlap High School. And Brian, you spoke about that, I think maybe before you ran for school board, and to see it come through and actually to have him come here. And I know it was a very expensive venture and took a lot of coordination. So just want to say thank you to you for making sure that that happened and our students are exposed to that.
Thank you.
So appreciate that.
Exciting.
It's very exciting.
And thanks to Karen for some of those sponsorships too. So we had it's fully underwritten and then some. So no cost to the district, and hopefully have a good benefit for the kids.
I remember I always have the board members in when they're running for election, and I was laughing with Brian, I think it was just this week. I said, when you came in and introduced yourself and we were talking about it, I'm like, well, what kind of things are you looking for in the district? And he starts to me about Project Purple, and I'd never heard of it, and Chris Herron, and it was just kind of a dream at that point. And so I really appreciate all the time and energy you spent towards that.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Parker. Okay, we'll now move into the public participation portion of the meeting. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? No? Okay. All right, since we have no one who wishes to address the board, we'll conclude the public participation portion of the meeting, and the board will now move into information and discussion items. All right, and the first item we have up are the school activity account reports, which are available in your packet for board review. Were there any questions regarding those school activity accounts?
I did have one question.
Okay.
I had to look it up here. For the Dunlap Middle School versus Dunlap Valley, the Dunlap Middle has an 8th grade line item. The Dunlap Valley does not. What is that line item? It looks like it's significant for the middle school.
We have our middle school.
That's what I think it's for the middle school puts it in there for their Washington DC trip. Is the money that the kids are putting in to pay
For the mid, okay. Okay, because it's only in that one.
It could be at the other building. Do they put it in a different
They may
account?
put it in the other, yeah, they can put it in a different building. I think the middle school has it separated out and the valley doesn't.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding school activity accounts? Okay, we'll move on to B. The information regarding the high school random drug testing report for the month of March was available for review. And Mr. Cragger's with us this evening. If you have any questions regarding those results. All right, thank you. Let's see, Mrs. Bowman, we will come forward now and present information on the middle school and high school social studies textbook adoptions for the 2016-17 school year.
All right, well, we've been meeting with, actually, I'll give you a little background here as I get this pulled up.
I think the teachers were wanting to know if they should come up. They're back there.
Come on, guys, just come join the crowd.
It looked like they really wanted to, so. Yeah.
They could both sit up here and probably run this. So actually, prior to my starting in the district, last year, the middle schools had started looking at social studies textbooks. And so when I started this year, that was one thing Mr. Holmes and Mr. Chatterton said, we really got to make sure that we're taking a look at these middle school texts and seeing where we're at. So in looking at all of the textbooks at the 6-12 level, there really was a need for some updating to be done. So, it's going to ask me my password or the screen. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the most recent textbook adoptions that took place, now that we're actually starting here, were done in high school. They had updated their U.S. history textbook, which had been quite old at that time, and the AP history, but that was all that had been done at that time. And the middle school and other high school texts had been done in 2003, and that was the last time a full middle school textbook update had been completed. And along with that, it was just specifically world history and psychology. So we do currently have some textbooks that actually do go back with some copyright dates in the 90s. There's one, I believe it's 1995 is the oldest. It's a civics text. So really, that's been a bit of a struggle, especially with increasing enrollment and looking at what's going on. You know, we need to replenish books regularly. Some of them are older and falling apart, and it's difficult to track down some of those older texts. So that's really what led us to take a look at this. And then in order to select the different texts, we gathered a bunch of different samples from publishing companies. They had done this at the middle school level last year, and then with the high school we did it this year. And then a committee of teachers and administrators narrowed down the list of texts. And then from there, they really looked at some of the different text features, the different content properties. Was it aligning to the standards? When you're looking at instructional properties, I mean, is it providing a good amount of text to pictures depending on the grade level? Is it going to be a durable text? And then the different supplemental resources are a huge piece. What are the different assessments that go along with that text, both formative and summative assessments? And then really in both sets with middle and high school, we were looking at what were the different technology capabilities? What were we going to be able to do, especially in looking at however we move forward in the district, whether we move forward with one-to-one or not. It's good to have those resources for students to be able to compare what's in their textbook to other texts that are online or other supplemental resources. And then obviously took a look at the current standards and scope and sequence and made sure that it aligned with those also. So with that being said, there were our middle school committee members. The text that the middle school decided they came down to Pearson is the publisher. And so My World History is the book at 6th grade, and 7th and 8th grade splits the American history at the middle grades. Both of these subscriptions would come with, you saw in the quotes that I provided you, it's the textbooks for the students. There is also a digital subscription for the students that each year you just update that information. You can do a mass upload through PowerSchool that gives the teachers the students, login information so they could access all of that. And it's a 6-year license that comes with that. I guess at this point I wanted to just let, it's Denise Decker and Homer Montmeyer, just to share a little bit about why they narrowed in on the Pearson text and what they liked about those.
Good evening, guys. Nice to see familiar faces, and thank you for letting us be here tonight. From our end, we started this process about a little bit like a year and a half ago. We had a bunch of different texts that we looked at, and Pearson was the one that really kind of just jumped out at us. It really kind of embodied everything that we were looking at the middle school level. Everything from appropriate age context, it was updated, right? It didn't just stop with a little blurb after 9/11. I mean, it was just the effects that that had, and to end just disturbing. Everything from the supplementals, from secondary sources to political cartoons, to everything is just, it's clean. The format is nice, it's age appropriate, and more importantly, it connects directly with the Common Core standards. It's embedded definitely within the textbook all throughout. And then from a social studies perspective, it also has the social studies initiatives within it as well. The perk for me that I see is the fact that it does offer that digital copy as well, especially if we're planning on moving to that one-on-one initiative here. That's the vision. This definitely is streamlined and coincide with where we're trying to go over things and going with that. So Denise is going to talk a little bit about what she's seen from the student perspective.
I went in after we met with her and I created all my kids a username and their password so they all log in individually, and it's awesome because whatever I want them to read, I can go in and assign that. So as soon as they click on it, they're not scrolling through trying to find it. They can click directly on there. And then at the end, there's generally 2 to 3 questions that summarize it. And right now, I haven't been grading them, but you can link that into your grade book. So when they take the quizzes, you can grade them on that. Right now, I'm just going to do it to see what they got, what they didn't get. The kids absolutely love it. They like going on there. The pictures are up to date. It also has PowerPoints for the teacher. So you can go in and take their PowerPoint and you can add whatever you want to it. You can delete part of it. So there's a lot of great resources on there for us as well.
I just want to give Ms. Jody Brooks some props here. She's back there hiding, but she kind of spearheaded it for us at the middle school level, kind of brought us in. And she was the one that really kind of reached out and made the contacts with the different publishing companies and brought the reps in and allowed us to really kind of meet as a group and have those hard conversations as to which direction we wanted to go. So thank you, Jody.
Just a question. So the 6th grade says My World History 2012. So that's when it was published, was 2012. So that was pre-Common Core, or had Common Core come out by then? I'm trying to think. It was out about...
That was right when it came out.
I think right then. So the digital courseware then, is that just every year? They just upload the whole updates, revisions?
They do, and they're constantly updating, and right now these are on 2 different digital platforms. One is on the Realize. The Realize is actually the newer digital platform compared to the one the American History is on, and I'm not...
They're redoing it this summer.
They're redoing that one this summer, so they're upgrading everything to the Realize. It's their better platform, and so then they provide different updates through there.
So the U.S. History one is the one that's currently updated on the Realize platform.
Yes.
And it's the World History one that they're trying to get caught up.
Between 2012 and 16?
Yeah.
Okay. But that'll be ready for next year, you think?
Yes, that's what...
They were working on it this summer.
Yeah.
That's great. And then did you say that they can actually take like quizzes or assignments online and it will automatically grade it?
Yeah,
So it takes
it's
away that manual
there's a
labor?
quiz on the end, and right now it just tells them, you got it correct, good job, and it doesn't go anywhere after that. Or it'll say, you missed this one, try it again, and then it'll redirect them to go back and reread that part, and then they take it again.
But you can set it up to grade and it'll automatically go into PowerSchool?
Yes.
Without you guys having to process the paper?
Right, it can actually link through Canvas and can go right through there, and there's an automatic update to that.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a very nice feature.
I got a question.
Yes.
As far as the software, the courseware license, it's a 6-year license. What happens in the 7th year, because we keep these textbooks longer than?
Then we would have to look at upgrading just the digital license.
What do they offer as far as the length? Is 6th year the longest term that they
The
offer?
6-year was the longest that they offered, yes. For this particular publisher, because you'll see that other one does a 7-year, but the high school one, but it's a little different situation, and I can explain that.
Okay,
When we're on
thanks.
this slide. Yep. Good question. Karen?
I have a question. Yeah, in terms of content, is there anything that's going to be troubling to parents that's new in these newer textbooks?
Controversial?
Controversial.
I don't think so. I think if you look at social studies as a whole, whether we're talking slavery or civil rights, social studies is the curriculum content there's many controversial issues. It's just about how you present it and is it age appropriate. And I think the book does a really good job at kind of bringing it down. What the teacher brings on top of the lesson is obviously going to be specific to that teacher.
But nothing jumped out at you?
No.
Okay.
And I guess it's making sure that was one of the things they looked at, making sure it's not slanted one direction or the other, but providing a neutral ground and then pulling the data.
And will the parents be able to access the book too?
I know in the past, mean, the kids have their password, and it's really generic, so I'm sure we can send that to the parents back to school night or whatever.
Yeah, there's no reason that couldn't be available.
I would say.
Yep. Good questions. Thank you. And then here is the high school information. This was the committee over there on the left. Brad Love was supposed to be here tonight, and he had a family emergency. He felt very bad that he couldn't make it. So he sent me a few notes and some different things that he wanted to make sure that I talked about. You'll notice there are 3 different publishing companies. They looked at the high school level. They all looked at all of these publishing companies, but then narrowed it down to these ones. The Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, that's the one I wanted to address. They're a 7-year package. What they are actually doing, if we move forward with them, is they have the old text right now, but they are updating their text next year. And so because we were looking at purchasing this time, they will give us their current books for this next school year, but then we will collect those all and they will send us a brand new set of their newly published text for no additional cost. And it's just going to have, the main change will be it'll have all this year's presidential information, so it'll be the most up-to-date for those courses. So that was the part, so that's where you see the 7-year package with that one, and that's why that's the case for that. He just really spoke to the point that their civics book is very old. I mean, the Soviet Union is still alive and well in some of their texts, and the books are in rough shape also, and we just didn't feel that the number of books we would have to purchase to replenish these, the ones that are falling apart and that are really not in good shape would not be adequate. It makes more sense to do the adoption along with the middle school at this point in time. All of these, a big focus that they looked at, and you'll see all of them have a digital component to them, and that was a piece that we wanted to make sure was a part of this. We are still, for everything though, purchasing student textbooks along with the digital portion. I just didn't feel that we were at a point where we could solely do digital. I still think we need to have those textbooks in the students' hands because we're not certain where we're going, and so that was a big piece. We wanted to make sure that we had access to both. Any specific questions, any other questions on high school that I missed?
I just had one. I recognize most of the names on the committee, but did we have the instructors that are teaching these courses that will be using these textbooks were all involved in this process?
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yes, they were. Good question. So with the quotes I had provided you, the middle schools would be paid for out of this year's budget. That was something that they had planned for last year, so that money has been set aside if we move forward and with this next month. And then the high schools, I've been working with Mrs. Barbara Lynn, and we would budget to pay for that out of next year's budget, but everything would be able to be purchased to be ready to go for the start of school next year. So that was all the information I had, unless you guys had other questions for us.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you too.
Yeah, great work. Super.
Okay. All right, board, we'll move on to D, and under information and discussion items, we have information regarding revisions to board policy. For the board's review, the policy revisions are for information and discussion only at this time. The board will take action on these policies at the May board meeting. And Mrs. Bowman is here if you have any questions regarding these policies. I think there were just 2 this month.
Right, yeah, I had a chance to quickly speak with her between meetings. One of the policies that we're passing is the program for the gifted. And I'd love to give you a page reference. I'm not sure I wrote this one down. I didn't write the page number, but the gifted program on the, here we go. Yes. So the instruction on, it's somewhere down around
45, I believe.
Page 45?
Of the board book.
Okay, page 45 of the board book. At the bottom, there's a footer that, first I asked her if this program for the gifted, is currently tied to state funding.
And because we received so little state funding, I didn't think it would be. In the footnotes, it says, if the board does not wish to tie the gifted program to requirements for state funding, you can use alternative language. I don't know if you see this. At the very bottom, on the yellow page. So the language is, the superintendent or designee shall implement an education program for gifted and talented learners that is responsive to students' needs and is within the budget parameter set by the board. Instead of tying it to the state superintendent of education issues a request for proposals. And I think she thought that was a good idea. It's up to you guys, but it seemed to make sense. Because we aren't tied to state funding. So the language that was proposed by Press isn't necessarily applicable to us, and we could just change that if...
Right, so we would just pull out that sentence there after number 3 and replace it with the one at the bottom. The superintendent or designee shall implement an education program for gifted and talented learners that is responsive to student needs and is within the budget parameters as set by the board.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's more appropriate, right,
Yeah.
to what's happening.
Does anyone oppose that change?
No, and is it only for that number 3? Okay.
It would just replace the language about a state superintendent, so we would be driving it
Yeah, no, I like
within the district. Okay.
That's good. Thank you, Cheryl. Any other questions on that policy or 6300? All right, thank you. Information regarding the regular board meeting dates for the 2016-17 year is available in the packet for review. Were there any questions? I think there were just 2 meetings that were not the normal third Wednesday.
Correct.
One was for a holiday, right, in December? Was the other one February or?
The other one was August.
August. And that's just for school starting or?
I don't remember why.
August is because it would follow the first day of school.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, so the more we talk, we were gonna leave it, but the more we talked about it, that's a time when we do a lot of hires anyway, and so we just thought that would be a good idea, that there's always a need to have a meeting right before school starts, so.
So let me ask the front office, is the third week working for you? In the past, we always had our meetings on the second Wednesday of the month, and it was changed because we thought financially, Karen, I think there was a business you were able to get more accurate numbers together for the board. So I just want to make sure that the third Wednesday is still working well for the front office and everything.
Yeah, you really don't want to keep switching it back and forth because if it's working, because now all your bills have changed cycles, and it seems to work much better in Karen's office, but.
And it allows the time for the banks to get the statements to us and things like that without having to call them.
Yeah, it's been a good change.
All right, very good. So we have that schedule. Other than the 2 dates of which will be moved to the second, everything will be on the third Wednesday for the next year.
Correct.
The non-certified employee handbooks were available for your review in the packet. Again, those will be brought back to us, but if we have any questions from Mrs. Beverlin, we can ask those now.
From a policy standpoint, because we just successfully closed the DEA contract with the teachers, so this is a bigger policy question. Just wanted to make sure that some of the language that we changed with the working...
It will be updated once it's ratified.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think it was all in there yet. So the things with personal days and sick
Nothing would be
leave.
changed until they approve it and you approve, as a board approve it.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay, and we also had the information regarding the student handbooks. We had lots of handbooks this month. Student handbooks were available in your packet for review, and Mrs. Bond and Dr. Parker are here to present information regarding the handbooks. I know we had a committee as a whole meeting just before this meeting.
And that was just on here in case we didn't get through during committee of the whole, because I needed to make sure we got through it tonight, so unless there are any other additional questions.
Karen, did you have anything?
You know, the only thing I'd like to discuss at some point is that policy on, for the school code violation of attending a party where alcohol is present.
Oh, you would like a athletic code discussion, I
Let's bring
guess.
that up under,
Which
Maybe
is
under
not really
other-
a handbook, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
maybe
You want-
future discussion then.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else regarding the handbooks? I know we had a pretty good discussion during the committee as a whole meeting and got a lot of the questions answered, so if there's anything else, you can get it, send it to Mrs. Bond or Dr. Parker,
Yep.
while they're finalizing and getting everything prepared. The last thing we have on this information and discussion is regarding the transportation vehicles, which were available for the board's review, and Mr. Peterson's available to answer any questions you may have. Do you want Mr. Peterson to come and speak about the VFAs?
He is prepared to answer any questions that you might have, so we did not have him put a formal presentation together, but just...
I can't find the page.
Yeah, what page? We're flipping through with all the
It seemed
handbooks.
to me that the mileage seemed to have no relevance to whether or not we needed to replace it.
I don't do it.
Is that because of the brand or what affects that?
It's really a little bit more of a reliability issue that we've found with particular buses. That some of them do have less mileage, but they also may be older and just have had some chronic problems with those particular buses.
Okay.
That's kind of, because it doesn't follow exactly.
Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like there's much rhyme or reason.
My mechanic and I kind of put our brains together on, what's in the shop a lot and what's.
Is it certain brands or you just get a lemon or what?
I just think that it's sometimes it's the route that they run is it's a little bit. There's a few
rougher
rural routes that beat up buses a little more than others. So I think that's part of it. Some of it's brand. We found that some buses have different models have maybe a few more problems than others.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Okay.
Nice job.
Great.
Hey, I have to say, we had a substitute bus driver, and he was actually amazing, and I've never seen another bus driver do it, but he was not doing that T-turn, backing up, because we have a divot, and you can't see the kids behind you, but they continue to back up and whatever, but he actually, he pulled around, but when he had to back up, he was laying on his horn just to notify everybody, that he's backing up, watch out.
Yeah, we have a
That hasn't
couple
been done before.
of veteran substitutes who do a really nice job.
He did.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this will conclude the information discussion item segment of the meeting, and we'll move on to the consent agenda. I ask if there's any clarifications or discussion items regarding the consent agenda. If there are no clarifications or discussion items, then we will go on to have a motion. Was there anything anybody wants to have for discussion on the consent agenda today? We have several things on there: approvals, the bids, the modulars, high school roof, risk management plan, the IESA and IHSA memberships, the out-of-state trip for Washington DC, and approval of the May Board of Education meeting date, the calendar, and then we had several policies from last month's information discussion.
Can I just ask a question about one of them now?
Sure.
Okay, so the roof bids, was that a normal to get did it looked to me like just a couple full bids? Is that normal to only have that many?
We had for 3 or 4, and that's pretty much
That's
all.
it? That's, okay.
Yes. And I will tell you that Tom was very pleased. They actually came in much, much lower than we thought.
Yeah, the numbers are really good.
Okay. There just aren't a lot of roofing companies that can handle it.
Right, exactly. Big jobs.
And then, is this approval of the risk management plan as well?
Yes.
Yes, it is
Okay,
on there.
just a question, is that replacing a previous risk management plan? It sounded like it's a new,
It's new.
okay, and how did that come about?
We should really have it.
Huh?
It's a best practice.
Okay, I thought it was excellent, but, okay, super.
And so does staff have to keep track of all that? Like how many hours they
The
devote?
percentage.
The percentage, that is in there in case we want to pay people for that.
Out of risk
percentage
management
staff.
funds?
The risk management fund,
Okay.
we would be able to pay staff out of that. Levy, we're not at this point, so we would have to do some tracking a little bit, or fix the job descriptions or something so it marked specifically, but at this point, we're not using it, but that
Gives you the option.
gives us the opportunity, yes.
And if that's the case, and I don't want to get into the weeds, but I was thinking about the lab sciences, chemistry, and I think they were listed at 2%. And I didn't know if that was kind of low, so they don't blow up the lab,
Yeah, but if you look at it from the big picture of all of the
Teaching and grading.
and what they do for everything,
2% is probably really all we can relate to,
Right, okay.
to truly the risk management.
But it looks very good, thank you.
Thanks for your work on that.
Working on that, appreciate that.
I wanted to point out one more thing. I didn't, we started the ordering the bulk supplies a few years ago, and it really just dawned on me the other day when I was doing this, the amount of work that actually went into it. Because if you look at that supply list, I mean, you're talking red paper from here, black paper from here. It's not all one place. And now that it's all set up, it's probably a lot easier, but thank you for doing the work.
Yeah, you did that,
put into
Karen.
Because I think
Right?
that was amazing.
It was,
That's a lot of work. Good job.
and Lisa.
Yeah.
I'll give the credit to Mrs. Buckle.
Yeah, both of you did a great job, and I think it's saving the district quite a bit. I don't know the number off the top of your head, but.
Do you know offhand? Because when we had that study done, they said, they gave a roundabout figure of what we should save. Have you ever figured that out? How much
You've
we save
reported it.
Last year, I haven't run the figures, we're very low this year as well, but I haven't run them since we're not approved, but we saved about $45,000 last year, and that's before we even the office license. And we're actually better this year because everything is mainstreamed even more so.
It takes a while.
When we were short-staffed, it was some of my finest time spent out there. And I enjoyed the peace and quiet of purchasing.
I met you
But
guys
I
out
haven't
there
been
one
out there
time.
for a long time, but yeah.
So good work.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Tell you a lot about paper and pens and that kind of thing now, and custodial supplies.
I can tell you anything you want to know about garbage bags, how thick they are.
Yep, we learned a lot, but we saved a lot of money.
I said, Lisa liked her kids' food, I ate garbage bags, so.
Well, we saved lots of money, so time well spent. Thank
Yep.
you both
Exactly.
for all your hard work, and thanks for bringing that up. Any other clarification or discussion items regarding the consent agenda? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented for the April 20, 2016 Board of Education meeting.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl, thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Booth.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Reed. Zawin.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. The board will now move into the action item segment of the meeting, and the bill list and treasurer's report are included in the board packet for your review. And Mrs. Beverly is available to answer any questions you may have. Is there anything you wanted to add this month regarding your report?
There isn't really, the only thing that I wanted to try to point it out, the budgets are tracking right as where we expect them to be. In operations and maintenance, there's the purchase services looks a little high. Part of that is because of the insurance damage that we had. We had to pay for expenses out of that line that we wouldn't normally have to pay out of it. So the income is coming to counterbalance that, but it makes the expense line look higher than what it should be. So that's where it's at. And if you look at the numbers for the supplies and the general supplies and cleaning supplies, that's a really good example of how we're saving money, because that's based on, those numbers are based on what we used to spend in those supply lines. So we're making huge progress as far as the amount of money we're saving.
Do you want to just quickly discuss the overpayment and the plan that you have, that the overpayment of the state of $95,000, I believe, and then the $25,000, what is that, the water tax or the sewer tax?
So the 95,000.
Karen, can we just discuss the first item and let's hold on the second for now? I'd rather discuss that later if we can.
Oh, this
Yeah,
one?
we're gonna get some more information on that, so, yeah.
But you're talking about.
Just the 95,000, yeah, if you don't mind.
95,000 that was
Yeah.
on the front page of the paper today.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still reviewing it, so as soon as the state's auditors get the exact numbers, we'll work with the Department of Revenue to figure out how we'll pay it back. It sounded like in the article and everything I've seen, they're gonna do it so that it's not, we don't have to pay the $100,000 all in one.
And then how you gonna, is it gonna be, like, we'll have to pay that per fund?
The only place CPPRT only comes, we only get about $800,000 in CPPRT, and it only goes into the ed fund and then the IMRF FICA fund. So those are the only places it goes. We're legally mandated to put money into the IMRF Social Security fund that was set in the law back in the 70s when they did it. And then the rest of it goes to the ed fund. So some of it, it'll balance out, some of it will come from IMRF, which
We'll be able to levy for it.
we can levy for that. So the only place we really have to look at it is with the ed fund. But it's
not such an amount that it's going to.
You know, you look at District 150, there was like
Yeah.
1 point whatever million.
Yeah, 1.3 million.
I wasn't thrilled with 95,000, so I,
Yeah, you look at some of the numbers on that list.
Or smaller schools with big numbers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. More information on both of those to come later.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Okay, Teresa?
When Mr. Black was indicating to us, there's this, they collect these revenues from these lots when they do these subdivisions. Do we know what's in this revenue account?
We do, I think at this point, I think it's about $120,000.
And the reason I ask, is that something that can be used for, like
Yes.
these modulars that are coming in or something like that, or not?
It has to be in the city limits.
Has to be within the city limits, so really
Oh,
we're
this- okay.
within, it's Wilder, Waits, Ridgeview, and Hickory Grove.
Grove.
Can that be used for part of that modular for Wilder Weight then?
It could.
It could. We've always said we would save it to
Oh,
see if we
okay.
did like a construction.
We did construction or something, but that's kind
Yeah.
of always been where we've
Yeah.
been at, is looking at that to help pay for renovations or construction.
But if we got into a budget situation, say next year, and that is certainly something that you could look at.
Have we ever tapped, how many times have we used that?
We've never tapped it. We've always just kept having them save it up until it was really worth using it.
And if it goes up to $500, that would be quite the,
Oh, absolutely.
because it's 21, you said, right?
42.
42.
For the house and 21 for like the,
I was very happy to hear this.
I know you were.
We've been talking about that.
We've been, yeah.
Because it's always fine.
Could you hear that?
Yeah, and I heard about it.
Yeah.
Any other questions regarding the bill list and treasurer's report? All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve payment of the bills.
I move to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $3,083,442.94 as presented.
A second.
All right, thank you, Brian, thank you, Teresa. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Zawin.
Aye.
Flu.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, motion carried. I'll now ask for a motion to approve the resolution to partially abate working cash in an amount not to exceed $300,000 to the Operations and Maintenance Fund.
I move to approve the resolution to partially abate working cash in an amount not to exceed $300,000 to the Operation and Maintenance Fund as presented.
Second.
Okay, heard Teresa and somebody on this end? Brian. Uncle Brian. All right, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Zawin.
Aye.
Flu.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, well, this concludes the action items segment of the meeting, and the board will now move into closed session. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. It looks like we had a couple guests in the back, some Boy Scouts.
Some Boy
there.
Scouts.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate your
Yeah,
attendance.
and I gave them one, so.
Yeah.
Huh? They did, I told
You're
them.
smart. You picked a nice short meeting.
Give me a motion. Dami, a motion.
Can we get
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I please have a motion to go to closed session?
I move to adjourn to closed session for the following purpose as stated in the Open Meetings Act. Disciplinary cases, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body, discussion of minutes, meetings, closed and other legislative matters.
Second.
Okay, so thank you, Beth, and thank you, Mr. Cheryl. In discussion, roll call vote.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park. Park. Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Zawin. Flu.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum. Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Approve the Human Resources Consent Agenda for 2015-16.
I move to approve the Human Resources Consent Agenda for the 2015-16 school year as presented.
Second. All right, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Karen. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Reed. Aye. Zawin.
Aye.
Flu.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Me too.
All right, motion carried, thank you.
to do these.
We need a motion to approve the Human Resources Agenda for 2016-17.
I move to approve the Human Resources Consent Agenda for 2016-17 as presented.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl, thank you, Karen. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Zawin.
Aye.
Flu.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion carried. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the administrator's salaries for 2016-17.
I move to approve the administrative salaries for 2016-17 as presented.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Teresa. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Lou.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Sauer.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to approve the non-certified salaries for 2016-17.
I move to approve the non-certified salaries for 2016-17 as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Karen. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Sauer.
Aye.
Lou.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you.
I gotta do that.
Okay, now we need a motion, and this is a very happy motion to make. A motion to approve the title change of Executive Director of Business Services to Assistant Superintendent and the contract for Karen Beverly as Assistant Superintendent through June 30th, 2019.
I move.
Title change of Executive Director of Business Services to Assistant Superintendent and the contract for Karen Beverly as Assistant Superintendent through June 30th, 2019, as presented.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Beth, and thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Congratulations. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Sauer.
Aye.
Lou.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye. Motion carried. All right, I'll ask for a motion to approve the closed session minutes.
I move
I
to
move to
approve.
approve the closed session minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting on March 9th, 2016, Committee of the Whole meeting March 16th, 2016, regular board meeting on March 16, 2016, and the special board meeting of April 6, 2016.
Okay, thank you, Beth, and thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Sauer.
Aye.
Lou.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you very much. We're now in other, are there any other agenda items for future board meetings? I think we had one during the meeting. Did we have something?
Karen wanted athletics.
Athletic code review.
Athletic parties.
Okay, yeah, that's a
Yes.
good one. Yeah,
Yes.
we've been discussing that.
And we could add to that too, used to be in the past, if an athlete had an athletic code violation, and say it was, is baseball in season right now? Yeah, if it was like a baseball, a student could serve that violation in a different sport, like the next one that comes up, swimming in the spring, or fall.
Say
So
cross
they-
country.
Or cross country.
Doesn't matter.
Boys
but-
swim.
So they could
Or
do
girls.
any of those and be served. And then, I don't know, 3-4 years ago maybe, they were, 3 years ago, I think, Tom kind of, they didn't like that. And coaches were upset, they didn't feel like they were trying.
We can look at that.
If you're gonna swim and do that kind of work, or if you're gonna go cross country and do that kind of work, I say it'd be served. So if you want to add that
Sure.
piece in.
Yep.
I'm just trying to, so you're saying what the current now is that kids are going in the other sport or not going in the other sport?
They're not allowed. Well, they can, but it doesn't count. It's that sport.
That you
which
get caught
you're-
and you want to
You had to have done it the previous year?
Say you're a baseball player and that's your only sport, and then you didn't want to sit out a third of baseball, so you thought, well, I'll just go run cross country. So the coaches and Mr. Walsh didn't like that, and I think that's how the change took place, if I can remember. We can take a look at it.
Another idea to propose to the board and the administration, we hear from Mrs. Bowman all the time, Ally, you three, all the time. And then the building, we're starting to hear more about the building projects, but are there other administrators that can present periodically, like technology?
What we'd like to do is, and we do this about every other year, every 2 years, is they come and they give presentations on their buildings, the principals do, and they might highlight specific, it'd be Dunlap Grade Night, and Mandy comes and she talks about what makes Dunlap Grade unique and different activities, and that was what we were gonna do next year, but we certainly don't have to do that.
No, I was just thinking other district personnel, just as a whole, to.
As
say-
far as district staff, other than Lisa Leitner and Matt Jensen, they're really,
Right.
and Matt's directly involved with the one-to-one, so he's been here a couple times for that, but
So what is your, I didn't really hear the question of it.
Having other people in the district office and administration report on the status of what big thing they're working on, goals they're trying to achieve, beyond you three, because this has been such a hectic year.
tired of listening to us?
No,
No?
you guys
All right.
you're covering a lot of ground, but I'm just thinking about the people behind the
They
scenes.
will all have new goals between now and August, and so that would be a good opportunity to bring Lisa Leitner in, talk about food service, and Pete can talk about transportation, and they can all at least bring them in front of the board, maybe not all on the same night, but
no.
what they're working on, and
And they did that with their plan on the page. Every
Exactly.
department came forward and they talked about what they're doing.
And that's one of Karen's new responsibilities. As of about 5 minutes ago, she will be working with each of the departments to develop their own plan on the page. She'll work directly with the directors, and they'll
Information.
And those will be tied to the strategic
exactly.
goals. and
It'll
the-
look just like ours, but it'll be related to their department.
And I like the idea about the building administrators too.
Yeah, it's usually well received. Yeah.
What's going on in the building.
Lisa, do you want to mention anything about the?
I was just waiting us to get to other.
Oh,
I can do it now. I thought we were just doing agenda items.
Oh, okay.
We still on, it doesn't matter.
agenda.
The only other thing that I wanted to mention is we've given a lot of thought to the pool and thrown different ideas around, and I think you're down to get rid of the pool, sink a bunch of money into the pool, build a new facility, brand new facility, or look to combine it with some sort of a community center, similar to 5 Points or something like that. We would like to start pursuing that idea.
Which one?
The 5 Points idea, something similar to that, and start working with different businesses and organizations locally, and wanted to get the board's thoughts on that. I felt like there was some support at the last meeting that we could at least start getting some information. Actually, I got some information from Jay Greening on it as I was walking to the meeting tonight, just a little bit more about 5 Points, but would like to start reaching out to some people and start having initial conversations, but didn't know what your thoughts were.
I'm a yes.
I knew you'd be a yes.
I'm all for that, and when you're collecting data and information, if you want to talk to the women that were here, they said they went out, they priced like how much meats are, how much money is made, and they have limited information they really wanted to share. I didn't know who to send it to, like who they should send it to.
I get the Dolphins.
Yeah, do you know? Could you reach out to her? Yes. Okay, thank you.
I've asked
I'm
for that
in.
before, and they've never done it.
I'm in, and there is some history, I thought, in the past that it almost passed, that where they were going to do a community, not at 5 Points, but I think it was going to be in the Dunlap area. It was before we moved
Yeah, it was.
back.
That was over by Fox Road, out of where the Park District, you mean, was going to purchase some land and put some athletic complexes over there.
And it was tied to Dunlap, yeah.
Years ago.
Which, like the Peoria Park District?
I think they still own it.
They do.
Yeah.
And it got sunk by a political person or something, so you just might want to find out what the backstory of that was, but it was going to pass, and then someone just campaigned against it, and it just...
They have no money right now, but they have a new executive director, and so maybe that's something a new executive director would like to put their hand.
They might want to be part of it.
I was thinking to use the money from the reserve. Is it the idea?
I don't think we have that much money in reserves for what we're thinking.
Goal would be to partner with somebody.
We want to
that puts
partner
the
with
full
somebody.
Pays for the whole thing.
Public-private.
Yeah.
Whoever anonymously was modular.
Don't worry.
We'll have to.
I will.
Whoever anonymous gave.
They're on my list.
Yeah.
That's a large donation. Individual donors, I believe. Yeah, there are a lot of them.
So,
We want somebody else to pay.
So on to, are you able to come up with, over the weekend, I had text Karen because of the article that came out regarding school not starting and Farmington had sent out letters to their,
My advice would be that we start school.
Oh, no, people are
Yeah.
asking, like, what is Dunlap gonna do?
I think it's too early to come out and say anything. And what the advice we've received from the IASA with the state superintendent or superintendents is to remain calm and not make any quick rash decisions.
So, well, I'm not gonna say all that, so we should just say, we haven't decided yet.
Exactly. But I will tell you that some of the larger districts around us are planning to open school as normal, whether they have the money or not.
And we're not asking.
So we can't
We are
say that
not.
we don't have to worry about it?
That's interesting because.
I don't,
I wouldn't say that we don't have to worry about it, I would just say that
I think we'll wait to make a decision when it gets closer and we'll make a public statement then, but right now we're just gaining information and that's the guidance we've received. I think it's too early.
And it doesn't help when Brim's on TV saying, well, you know.
So they're interested in.
Right.
and it's hard to know.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
It's not an easy place to be, but I do exist unless everybody does it.
As one superintendent said to me yesterday, who has a lot of low-income students in their district, I want my kids safe and I want them in school, and that's where they're gonna be come August.
That was very responsible. And so can they just do loans at some point? But we would have.
I don't know what they'll do.
You know, because some of these smaller districts that don't have the money, can't they just get like a bridge loan or something?
They can do tax warrants and things like that, it's just a matter of how much.
That's kind of what I'm, the dream.
That was all we had.